I wouldn't want to be a pine tree living on a pine plantation with nothing but other pine trees in every single direction. No, I'd rather be a
Earth First is a radical environmentalist movement whose watchwords are no compromise in defense of Mother Nature. Earth First emphasizes direct action and civil disobedience against those who would threaten wilderness and environmental diversity. Recently, national leaders of Earth First came together at La Pena Cultural Center in Berkeley for a rainforest benefit featuring music, poetry, rabble-rousing, and Earth First culture.
From the Forest Service are overprotecting my trees from a beetle that eats the weaker pines that are overcrowding me. They say that that bug is bugging their profits, so they come in the forest and they kill and they chop it. But that method never stops it anyway. The beetle doesn't affect the hardwoods. Many pines are even immune.
Take you for a moment from that frantic vision, that frantic video you would call reality, a contemporary hit co-authored by fear, noise and commotion pulled around you like false security. Let us take you for a moment from that which encircles you like covered wagons against the intense, uncertain potential of nightfall. Let us take you for a moment to the shadow-lined corridors between tamarack and aspen, down those thorny, berry-covered tunnels that lead to your naked wild souls. Silence will stalk you there, coming closer even as you stop to listen. Another step or two and it will touch you, and it will re-enchant you, reunite you to your oneness with this sacred living earth. There is no freedom without such danger. Shaggy hair hangs over your eyes here as even your tracks are transformed. A little deeper now with a hint of claws. It is the job of our poetry to take you there. Welcome to Earth First. We're doing the special benefit tonight for the rainforest, which all of you know is one of the most beautiful, primeval, magical, abundant examples of magical, fecundant wilderness that's left in the entire world. We can talk of it in terms of resources if we want, but the bottom line of the rainforest is that if we had no resource value whatsoever to us, no medicines, if we couldn't even go there and look at its beauty, it has a value. If it didn't produce oxygen for our air, it has a value in and of itself, a sacred value. La Tierra. This is about walking, about taking your shoes off and feeling barefoot the ground beneath your feet. Barefoot walk. Compelled to stop, push naked, probing toes into sun-warmed gravel. Lean forward as the grassy knoll softly gives like a rib cage to the weight of my present knees. Myriad winged insects dance at their species song below. Twirling a silken sweetgrass between my fingers, all realization of time seems to vanish down those invisible tunnels that bring the wind to our ears. It is a piece of her delicately braided hair, the Mother Earth's hair herself, that these fingertips rejoice on. And the connection made, I suddenly see all the places that I have never been, creatures both strange and familiar, the diverse, resplendent whole made visible once again to my pitiful humanoid eyes. La tierra es mi querida. The earth is my lover. In walking, it is easier to feel her, walking as a prayer. Her cloak is the tapestry of life, from microbe to field mouse, honeybee to buffalo, creeping, crawling, leaping, flying, virtually bursting from its woven matrix. In awareness, brightly lit with a lizard luminescence, plucks my speech like flies from the air, dumps me on the fleshy cause of Mother Earth's interminable wetness. Walking, it is easier to hear her. As every wild fruit rolls out her pores, tides pounding in blood-red grapes, her moon pulling their fluids hard against their giving inner walls. It is the sound of waves crashing on rocks, where fruit meets stem, drumming their message of fullness down electrified vines, their message translated in her heart, along with timid emanations trickling down the roots of mountain flowers, the barrel cactus's slowest sucking of the centuries. La tierra es mi madre, the earth is my mother. In her center, rivers circle in, like coyote circles before resting in scented nest. The rivers are nose to tail here, smelling each other. Like sheets of opal, what you might think are lakes are the openings to the imaginations of our mountain-bred children. We must make just the right music to get in, rolling beach stones together in our palms, the anxious mating sounds of the endangered species, the flapping of butterfly wings on the horizon as the last condor flies to freedom in California, unshakable view of the sacred, sacred walking.
The song I'm going to play is called Don't Clear Cut the Tahoe. Tahoe is a forest up by Nevada City area, goes up to Truckee. And the Tahoe the Tahoe plan embraces a lot of clear cut. And the people in the Bay Area, they have a pull, and it's important for each person to state their opinion.
Don't clear cut the Tahoe. Don't clear cut the Tahoe. People stand up and say no. Don't clear cut the Tahoe. No, don't clear cut Tahoe. Across her crests, the green woods stand, clear waters flowing through the land. In this strength together, we must band to stay the greedy hand of man. Don't clear cut the Tahoe. Don't clear cut the Tahoe. Against this we must strike a blow. Don't clear cut the Tahoe. No, don't clear cut Tahoe. It's an old lie.
we've been sold. That's why they hide the clear cuts along the roads. Even this they soon plan to forego. How brazen proud in hearts grown cold. Don't clear cut the Tahoe. Don't clear cut the Tahoe. It's rape of the mother, you know. Don't clear cut the Tahoe. No, don't clear cut the Tahoe. When the trees are gone, wildlife disappears. Expect no mercy when the monster sneers. If you think they care about flowers, bears and deer, go stand in a clear cut until your thinking clears. Don't clear cut the Tahoe. Don't clear cut the Tahoe. People stand up and say no. Don't clear cut the Tahoe. No, don't clear cut the Tahoe. To those who believe in cut, burn and spray, there is something we must say. The ecosystem that is destroyed truly belongs to each girl and boy. Don't clear cut the Tahoe. Don't clear cut the Tahoe. Against this we must strike a blow. Don't clear cut the Tahoe. No, don't clear cut Tahoe.
I think we need to ask, why preserve the rainforest? What good is it? I mean, after all, the rainforest, that's a new word. When I was a kid, we didn't call it that. It was jungle. I mean, can you imagine Rainforest Jim? Tarzan, king of the rainforest? That's not American somehow. But jungle is rainforest. And rainforest covers it so much better because that's what it is. It's a forest created by rain. But it's also rain created by a forest. It's forest and rain together. And you take away the forest and the rain is gone. Now, I'm a desert rat. I like the wide open spaces. I'm a product of the Southwest. It's my home. It's my bioregion. But when I went to Central America in 1980, I was overwhelmed by the fecundity of life I found. I was out running through the rainforest at Tikal Park, howling with the howler monkeys, chasing after the spider monkeys, and when I saw a flock of parrots fly across the skies, I knew I was in the rainforest. And I felt like I was in the oldest place on earth. And it is the oldest place on earth. I'm a child of North America. I belong here on Turtle Island. I'm a desert rat. I like the high country of the Rockies. But those are recent ecosystems. They only emerged in the last 10,000 years after the great sheets of ice left at the end of the Pleistocene. What we see now on Turtle Island has been here just for a little while. We're in a new place. But the rainforest is over 100 million years old. The desert where I'm from is 10,000 years old. but in so many places on the earth, there has been rainforest in the same spot for 100 million years. That goes back to the dinosaurs. That covers the whole evolutionary period of mammals. Those are incredibly old ecosystems. And because they are so old, they are more diverse, they are richer than any other type of country on Earth. Over half the species on the entire planet are in the rainforest. There are species there we haven't even begun to catalog. It's only been recently that biologists have gone up into the canopy of the rainforest and have realized there's a whole nother undiscovered world up there. A world that is as unknown to us as the bottom of the sea or the dark side of the moon. But richer, more diverse, more fecund, more alive. There's this incredible green world there. We barely know it. And we understand it even less. And what are we doing to it? I was born in 1946. At that time, the rainforest had hardly been touched. But since that time, we have cleared over 40%. In my lifetime of 40 years, we have cleared over 40% of the rainforest of Central America. Have you noticed there aren't as many warblers around anymore? As many other songbirds? That's because their winter home is in Central America. We've destroyed their winter home. And so they aren't coming back to the States for the summer because they don't exist anymore. In just 40 years, we have destroyed 40% of the rainforests of Central America. By the end of the century, it'll be nearly all gone. Do you wonder about the famine in Ethiopia? What caused the drought there? It's because the Amazon has been being logged. The lungs of the world, the greatest climate modifier on the planet. You cut the Amazon as we're doing, and it changes the world's weather patterns. And it causes droughts in Africa, which causes famine, which causes millions of people to die. And more pressure from those people from the beleaguered wildlife of Africa. At the end of this century, biologists believe we may destroy 1/4 to 1/3 of all the species on Earth. That's an extinction rate greater than any other time in the 3.5 billion year history of life. It's greater even than the death of the dinosaurs. And it's happening in an instant. In the span of a single human lifetime. And we're talking about an ecosystem that has been here for at least 100 million years. Think for a minute of 100 million years. What that means. We think of the redwoods of Northern California as ancient. 1,000, 2,000 years. The rainforest has been going on constantly, replenishing itself, being immortal for 100 million years until us, until Burger King, until the World Bank, until giant dams, until chainsaws, until Volkswagen of Germany with its million-acre plantation in Brazil, until the consortium of Weyerhaeuser and Indonesian army generals in Borneo. Think of the wildest places on Earth. Borneo, New Guinea, the Amazon, the Congo. That's the rainforest. That's what we're destroying today. 50,000 years ago, there were 10 million human beings on this planet. There were 1 million orangutans in the rainforest of Southeast Asia. How many people today? 5 billion. How many orangutans? A handful. We are destroying Eden today. It is on our souls. It is in our hands to stop it. Are we going to do it?
You bet.
Or are we going to sit in our fat, comfortable butts in front of our TV sets? It's up to us. It is our generation. It is our time on earth. It can either destroy or preserve the greatest terrestrial ecosystem. And remember that all terrestrial ecosystems, even the saguaro cactus, where I come from, is out of the rainforest. The rainforest was the original terrestrial ecosystem. Everything else from the Arctic tundra to the Sonoran Desert to the deciduous forests of the Ohio Valley has evolved out of the rainforest. We all come from it. We have all emerged from the rainforest. It's a crucible of evolution. And if we destroy our civilization on this planet, it's the rainforest that holds the potential for new species. But if we destroy the rainforest today, it won't come back. Because while it is the oldest and most diverse ecosystem, it's also the most delicate, the hardest to reclaim. So it's up to us. Not to save it as arrogant human beings, protecting something lesser than ourselves, but as primates, as creatures who know that we are part of the rainforest, as creatures who are part of the rainforest, as the rainforest defending itself against attack from alien forces. It's up to us. Only we can do it. Now you're fortunate here in the Bay Area, because the Bay Area chapter of Earth First has been the leading group within Earth First fighting for rainforest preservation. They're the ones who's doing it. It's here in San Francisco and Berkeley that is going to carry the weight of the battle. It's the Bay Area Earth First that's organized the demonstrations against Burger King, against the World Bank, and that will continue to coordinate that. Bay Area Earth First needs support.
It was written in a redwood grove up in Honeydew. Clear-cutting chainsaws killing the trees, disrupting everything that lives in peace. Our animal friends are on the run, but there's nowhere to go when the job is done. How can we stand by while this all takes place? We've got to stop this inhuman race. No compromise. No compromise, no compromise, no compromise, no compromise in defense of the Mother Earth, Earth First. Strip mining mountains by the ton, digging up the uranium. Bald eagle looking for a place to land, but it's all gone for a nuclear plant. Must we poison the water, earth, and air just to cook a piece of toast or blow dry a hair? No compromise, no compromise, no compromise, no compromise, no compromise in defense of the Mother Earth, Earth First. Don't we know there's gonna come a time when the tables will be turned? all these crimes, yeah. Ooh. And for our lessons never learned. All native peoples of the earth, the land is yours by right of birth. But the corporations can't stand to see the way that we were meant to be. Our sisters and brothers are dying every day while we drink our coffee and look the other way. No compromise. No compromise, no compromise, no compromise, no compromise in defense of the Mother Earth. Earth first. So how do we make up for our mistakes? Well, the answer is whatever it takes. Now the pen is mightier than the sword, but a monkey wrench can do a whole lot more. The revolution is just around the bend. Will Mother Earth be your foe or your friend? No compromise, no compromise, no compromise, no compromise, no compromise in defense of the Mother Earth. Earth first. Earth first, earth first, earth first, and no compromise in defense of the Mother Earth. Earth first! Thank you.
How did this chicken get here on the table, and for that matter, how did the table get here, and how did the house get around it? And I'm always floundering on an answer for that.
Right.
I was wondering what you would say.
Well, I generally don't get in arguments with my parents or parents-in-law. It's sometimes a hopeless thing to do. But I think what we have to recognize is that we're all tied into the system in some way or another. We're all part of the industrial monster that's killing the world. And I've thought long and hard on how to extricate myself from that. And I don't know how to do it. A lot of people are trying. I think the wisest answer I've heard comes from Arne Næss, who's a philosophy professor in Norway, who coined the term deep ecology, which describes our philosophy. And he says all we can do is try to get on the path to simple living. That all we can do is each one of us, in as many small ways as we can, is move in that direction. You know, I would like to totally cut myself off, but I fly in airplanes, I drive a truck, you know, I do all these things, but sometimes you have to use the tools of the devil to fight the devil. It's unfortunate. You can go off and be a hermit in a cave in a mountain and not think you're tied into the system, but you're still going to be tied in certain ways. Or you can try to minimize your impact in your personal life as well as you can. But recognize that you're still going to have an impact. But try to pay your rent for that impact by doing some good things for the earth. You know, there are times I do feel guilty for being a human being, for all the destruction we've done. But guilt is not a good emotion. It doesn't accomplish anything. We can look back, we can see the destruction that our personal lifestyles cause. And we can feel bad about that. We can recognize the damage we do. But instead of feeling guilty about it, I think we should explore all the possible ways to try to minimize those impacts. But then spend our effort on trying to prevent other impacts, of trying to save natural diversity wherever it is. And none of us are going to do it perfectly. But we can all work in that direction. I mean, no matter how you do it, recycle. You know, ride a bicycle, take mass transit. You know, grow a garden, those type of things. You know, I can't do a lot of that stuff. You know, I would like to have a bigger garden and, you know, ride a bicycle instead of a truck, but I've chosen to be a rabble-rouser and a warrior, and so I have a certain impact getting around doing that, but I try to make up for that impact by the other things I do. But a consciousness, and I think it's very important to have respect for whatever we use. We're going to be fulfilling vital needs from anything. Even if you're a pure vegetarian, you're still eating living things. And you need to thank those things. You need to thank the wood that you use. You need to thank those dinosaurs from 100 million years ago when you fill your car up with gas for what they did for you. Be conscious that things are dying for your benefit, and thank them. Even if they seem inanimate to you, they may have some kind of consciousness. Any other questions? Yes?
This kind of goes to the philosophy of Earth first. I'm wondering how you decide what parameters to use when you're deciding how much and what kind of violence to use to stop exploitation of the environment.
Well, I think that's got to be a personal decision. And I don't encourage anybody to do anything specifically. I'm not going to tell anybody to stand in front of a bulldozer. That's got to be a very deliberate, thoughtful decision on their part, because there are consequences. I'm not going to encourage anybody to go out and pull up survey stakes, because one of my best friends did that and got 6 months in jail because he was careless. He got the consequences, but he was willing to accept it. So it brings up the interesting question of violence. What is violence? Is self-defense violence? My definition of violence is to try to impose your will on something else. To try to dominate something. To try to take it away from its own evolutionary destiny. I think cutting down a redwood forest with a chainsaw is violence. I don't think putting sand in a bulldozer to prevent that from happening is violence. I think it's self-defense. But it's got to be done, whatever you do, with full deliberation, with full thoughtfulness, with the complete understanding that you're engaging in something very profound. In fact, I think you should sort of do it as though it's a sacrament, as a religious act. And that doesn't mean you can't have a lot of fun. I'll drink a beer as a religious act. And sometimes it very much is. Joy! What could be more spiritual than joy? Boom! You know? We don't have enough joy. But I go out and I pull up survey stakes, and that's holy. Because I'm making a prayer to the earth, to the trees and the birds. And if you can do that, you know, in a good frame of mind, in that kind of feeling, then more power to you. But you have got to make those kind of decisions yourself. If you're uncomfortable with them, if you don't want to face the consequences of breaking the law in whatever way, then you shouldn't do it. And I don't think any of us should do anything that really puts other human beings in danger. And, you know, putting sand in a bulldozer engine just helps that iron ore go back to the earth. It's not putting anybody in danger. If you did something to the brakes in a logging truck, that would be a violent act, because that could hurt somebody. And so you have to really think about these things. And a lot of times you get into a gray area where you don't know the answers. But be thoughtful, be deliberate, but have fun.
Autumn leaves are falling, the cold chill bites the air. All the signs are plain to see of winter everywhere. Reminds me of the things you said, the loving in your eyes. Like the promises of early spring, your words all turned to lies. Your eyes sit a thinking, wondering what to do. The cold night hours are dragging by, it's 20 after 2. The words we spoke a while ago hang heavy in the air. And old promises like autumn leaves, they scattered everywhere. 'Cause if all the broken promises were strung out end to end, they'd wind a chain of sorrow round the world and back again. Memory of the good things helped me hang on through the years. But after a while, the good things just can't outweigh the tears. All the times you promised me you'd never lie again. Well, we both know how the story goes and how this song will end. Soon the night will roll back, bringing on another day. We're left to face each other with nothing else to say. Promises of long ago are all we have to share. Old promises like autumn leaves, they scattered everywhere. 'Cause if all the broken promises were strung out in the end, they'd wind a chain of sorrow round the world and back again. Yes, if all the broken promises were strung out in the end, they'd wind a chain of sorrow round the world and back again.
Earth First, how did it start and why?
It started, our environmental movement got together on a camping trip to the Pena Desert in Mexico. We had been talking about how the environmental movement had been compromised and co-opted, how we were compromising more but getting less, and we decided that there was a need for a group that would articulate a pure wilderness position, that would ask fundamental questions about the relationship of human beings to nature, and that would provide a radical critique of industrial society, and would take the kind of strong action to follow through on that type of philosophy.
How do you see Earth First is different than other environmental organizations? Why is it necessary as opposed to a Greenpeace or another group?
I think all other environmental groups are basically the loyal opposition to industrial society. We are outside of industrial society. We are questioning the very basis of industrial society. We don't attempt to reform it. We want to overthrow Western civilization.
What do you think about that statement?
I have to say he's probably right.
Pinball wizard's got such a subtle ring. always gets a replay, and he never tilts at all. That deaf, dumb, and blind kid sure plays a mean pinball. But he can't beat me now, I've always been the champ. I know every trick, no freak's gonna beat my hand. How do you think he does it? What makes him so good?
You wrote the book Eco Defense, Guide to Monkey Wrenching, and some people have criticized Earth First as being, they've gone as far as to say you're terrorists. What would be your response to that?
Well, if I was a rich Republican pulling down $100,000 a year as executive director of the Sierra Club or the National Wildlife Federation, I'd call Earth First terrorists too. I'm surprised they haven't claimed we get our money from Muammar Gaddafi. The simple fact of the matter is that there is terrorism in the National Forest, out in the wilderness. But the terrorists are the National Forest Service, the U.S. Park Service, and their corporate masters. All we're doing is trying to become part of the wilderness and acting in our own self-defense. That's not terrorism. That's a common right of every good American.
This is the Stephen Foster song. Let us pause in life's pleasures and count its many fears, while we all sup sorrow with the poor. There's a song that forever will linger in our ears. Oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis the song, the sigh of the weary. Hard times come again no more. Many days you have lingered around my cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more. You know, that's a good damn song, boy. And you can see why I had to rip that sucker off. Anyway, now when you hear that line from Stephen Foster's song, you'll recognize it, and you can sing on it. It'll be a lot of fun. It always worked for Pete Seeger. We'll play the guitar all night long when the good old days come back, when the Wabash Cannonball comes steaming down this rusty track. We'll sing along with the bluebird song on the cool, clean river shore. And there'll be a chicken in every pot when the hard times come no more. Oh, hard times come again no more. All I see is poverty when I look for a brighter day. The good Lord knows where the good times go, but the good times sure go away. I ought to make a damn good wealthy man. I ain't doing good at poor. But there'll be a chicken in every pot when the hard times come no more. Oh, hard times come again no more. I'm tired of singing sad songs. I want to dance an old-time jig. Well, I recall when the bills were small and a Cadillac was big. A government bond was good as gold. A handshake meant for show. We used to have a chicken in every pot. Oh, hard times come no more. Oh, hard times come again no more. I hope I'm here to stand and cheer when nobody has the blues. You watch TV and all you see is nothing but good news. I want to see the old SP chasing Amtrak out the door. I want to see a chicken in every pot and the hard times come no more. Oh, hard times come again no more. Many days you have lingered around my cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more.
Well, we're involved in a number of different campaigns at this point. We try to look at issues in a way that'll bring a little light to the larger question, some of the things that Dave was just talking about. But I'd say probably number one in our priority is preservation of the world's wild areas, the undeveloped areas, the areas where natural processes still go on fairly much uninterrupted. And these places are scattered all over the globe, and therefore our actions are pretty dispersed too. We're certainly not big enough to take all of them, but what we do try to do is to really confront these institutions and these governments and these corporations that are constantly, diminishing the natural world, reducing it to small park-sized parcels, and through that we're trying to bring about some enlightenment as how much, as human beings we really need that world, that we cannot live without that world, that if we lose that, we lose ourselves. And so some of the actions we've taken recently have been in defense of forests in the Pacific Northwest, Northern California redwoods, the Doug firs in Oregon, trying to save spotted owl habitat in Washington State. And we do this by a number of ways, but most of what we do is called direct action. We confront, we intervene, we interfere, we try to stop. It goes beyond symbolic action. These are defensive actions, and the deliberate actions, through taking very positive steps in our own lives to try to confront these things, we're trying to get other people to confront the whole worldview that is really causing this, and we realize that it's that worldview that ultimately we're going to have to deal with, and not just all these individual issues.
I always wanted to write a historical ballad, so I did. What better thing could I write about than something I know about, Anyway, I was always interested in outlaws, up until Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings. Anyway, these outlaws were California outlaws, and it was really kind of interesting because after that, when they finally caught up with him and killed him, then they cut off Joaquin Murrieta's head and three-fingered Jack's hand, and he took him around and showed him, pickled him in formaldehyde and showed him at carnivals and fairs. And that was all good and well, until they finally figured out there was a total of 9 heads and hands that were making the round. Who in the hell were those other 8? Or if any of them. As a child I heard tales about Three-Fingered Jack. He rode out with Joaquin and they never rode back. And back home we heard stories about the treasures and glories and the wild times the two of them seen. Jack and the man called Joaquin. Well, the mighty Sierras are high and they're cold, and the Mexicans work and the gringos got gold. And how can you blame a man trying to claim something better than peppers and beans? The outlaws, Jack and Joaquin. Well, a high-stepping horse and a long-barreled gun make a man proud, and a proud man won't run. And a man you should fear is a man you can't scare. And that crippled hand reached for a dream he shared with a man called Joaquin. Well, they hide through the day and they ride through the night, and sometimes they'll run, but sometimes they'll fight. And how can you find them when you're always behind them? Like phantoms, they're felt but not seen. The outlaws, Jack and Joaquin. Well, the mighty Sierras are quiet today, but old Mexican women light candles and pray that the head and the hand that were shown through the land with somebody they'd never seen, and not those of Jack and Joaquin. And stories are told every now and again about a ranch in Sonora that was run by two men, and they lived there like lords, never crossing the border, and living like old Spanish kings. And they claimed it was Jack and Joaquin.
Good night, folks. I want to thank you all very, very much for your generosity and your spirit. Earth first, earth first, earth first, earth first, earth first.
Take home your machinery, take bulldozers away.
Of the life of John Muir, many are the dangers he braved. Without his leadership, you can be sure Yosemite would never been saved. A century later, the battle remains. The momentum we're facing is huge, but so is the movement inspired by his name. May his courage and his work live in you. Your power to you. May the strength of a redwood be yours. Your power to you. With the grip of a glacier endures. Your power to you. John Muir would have been proud. He traveled alone on 1,000-mile hikes when the weather was warm or would freeze. He loved the Sierra when it filled up with storm, and he was tied atop a swaying tree. He worshipped the beauty of all he could see, even when he was robbed of his sight. When his vision returned, he would go on to be the protector of the range of light. Your power to you. May you look with the light from within. Your power to you. May the wilderness become your friend. Your power to you. John Muir would have been proud. Scientists and teachers would arrive at the points that his articles and lectures would claim. And even politicians would eventually join with what photographers and artists would frame. When we think of John Muir, it's so easy to see the difference one person can make. The same rivers flowing through you and me, it's living in the steps that we take. Your power to you, as you fight to keep that river alive. Your power to you, as you help another species survive. Your power to you.